Around the Town with Taylor Brown, 4 episodes after number 7. That makes it number 11. Taylor, you weren't available for commentary on Sunday. Mrs. Brown was sick, and they went to the reserve commentator, the King, Wally, the King Lewis himself.
Yeah, well, Lee, you know what it's like when you're coaching a footy side. You've got a roster, and unfortunately, someone's got to be second string. And in this case, it was Wally Lewis. You know,
did you know that, Rosie? Wally Lewis stepped in for Taylor on Sunday. Taylor rang in sick Sunday morning because Naomi was sick, and Wally Lewis was in his spot.
Mate, I'll tell you what happened. She's going to hate me for saying this, but it got to about 1 a.m. Sunday morning, Saturday night. No drinks or nothing. And it sounded like my bathroom had turned into a Jurassic Park scene. There was 3 velociraptors in my bathroom just roaring off their head. You know, I could hear the splash off the porcelain. It was going nuts, you know.
Did Wally Lewis follow you into the house and put something in your food so he got a run on Sunday?
Yeah, possibly.
Well, he might be hungry. He needed the feed. He needed the win. And, so anyway, I had to call in sick, unfortunately, and look after the boys. But then it got to about 2:15, and I was watching the UFC, and I thought I'll flick it over and watch. And just before I did, I got a text off Mr. Lee Addison. It said, how's Wally Lewis has replaced you? And I literally written back, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
And I texted the guys at the QRL and I said, geez, you could have gotten someone better to replace me.
Yeah.
And
how did it come about? Was he just happened to be there and they tapped him on the shoulder, or?
Well, as you guys may or may not know, Adam Jackson, who works for Channel 9, does a lot of the sidelines for those games. And he found out that I wasn't available, and they were trying to scramble to find someone to be able to do it. And they were at the end of their depths, really. And Adam Jackson sort of said to him, why don't I ask Wally? And the guys at the QRL said, have you got his number? And he said, yeah, I work with Wally throughout the week at Channel 9, and it'll be fine. And he texted Wally, and Wally said, I'm keen. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
How does the QRL not have Wally's number?
Well, the media and the guy that runs the commentators probably doesn't, because I don't think you start at the QRL and they say, well, here's Darren Lockyer's number, here's Wally Lewis's number. It doesn't happen like here's Alfie's number. But so they got his number and they asked him, and he said he was keen as. So Brisbane Tigers v Central Queensland Capras, brought to you by the King.
I'll introduce all the other guests because we're nearly on a full complement today. We're just missing Chris Bugden, and once again, Taylor is the only one not sporting any facial hair. A big warm welcome to James Varley, and you've probably had enough warmth for the year. It's been quite a warm September, I believe.
It certainly has, Lee. Yeah, it's been like the last week, like 27 degrees.
Cracking the flags. Cracking the flags.
It started raining a bit. Well, we had a bit of a thunderstorm on Sunday, and it's raining a bit today, but it's been red hot for September, it really has.
Brendan Rose, you hairy beast, how are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Thanks. And Tim? How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, guys.
Good. Okay, I'm going to start this week with breaking news, so everyone will know what day we've recorded this. Jack Whiten has only got 3 matches for biting. And I know this is your show, Taylor, but I think that is weak as piss. What do you reckon?
I believe it is weak as too. I just think so when you go to these judiciary hearings, and as you know, you're either guilty or you're not, right? You need the evidence. If you're guilty, you're guilty. If you're not, you're not. You can't give someone a light punishment because it might be on the fence. Once it is deemed that they are guilty of the offence, you hit them with the full letter of the law. So, look, there may have been some question marks about it, but I think 3 weeks for a biting offence, I would have liked to see that 6+, pushing even further. You know, if he started his Rabbitohs career in round 10, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Rosie, biting is akin to gouging or spitting or something like that, isn't it?
Oh, I think there needs to be more to look at than just the act of biting, you know. I think the referee should have penalised the tackler well before he bit him. You know, that arm.
That wasn't in front of the judiciary, though, Brendan.
Oh, I realise that. But yeah, I think 3 weeks is probably fair enough.
But even if the referee did penalise against the tackler, you still can't bite someone.
Well, if you can't breathe.
Mate, he's a professional athlete. Are you telling me for the 5 seconds, worst case 10 seconds that a hand was in his mouth, he couldn't breathe?
Yeah,
what about his nose, Rosie? What about his nose, brother? Yeah,
I'll be honest. 3 weeks, I'm pretty. It's here and all there. So.
Tim, you were shaking your head when, or I thought nodding your head or something. Your head was moving when I was saying I thought it was weak.
Very, very weak. Me personally, I reckon he should have been sent from the field as well. But 3 weeks, that's nothing.
No, I mean, what else you get 3 weeks for? You get 3 weeks for a bit of a high shot, don't you?
Reece Walsh got 3 weeks.
Yeah, for mouthing off to a ref.
Mouthing off to a ref.
And to me, biting is the most disgusting thing you can do on a football field. There is no need for it.
One of, anyway. Taylor. Say yes, Lee.
Yes, Lee.
I'm
cautious of you, mate.
Mate, your microphone's getting funny again. What's Taylor Brown going to town on this week?
Well, it was going to be Jack Whiten for the biting allegation. It was going to be Jack Whiten because, that's disgusting. But the second thing is Valentine Holmes.
Yeah.
Is that not the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life? I think it is. First of all, he was out doing drugs, which is
allegedly,
which is a big no-no. To take a photo of yourself with it in your mouth and then post it to social media, is just like, it's dumber than the Todd Carney incident, in my opinion.
It definitely gets the.
It takes the cake. It's the dumbest thing I think I've seen a footballer do.
It's up there because James, are you over this incident? Do you know what's happened?
I saw something that you put about it last week, Lee, and it's just it is just ridiculous. Really,
I mean, even if it wasn't cocaine in that bag, it looked like a bag like cocaine can be in. We've all seen movies with cocaine bags in. Brendan, where do you sit on it?
I think I agree, it's stupid. And then to come out today and say, it was just a joke. Like, I don't know if that's even more stupid, even if it was a joke. Why would you do something stupid like that?
Okay. Moving on, because we've got a bit to get through today. We've had the first round of NRL semi-finals. And I will start this week with the tipping because I want you to put your hands together, boys. Taylor Brown has won a week's worth of tipping. He has actually won last week's tipping. Give him a clap, all three of you, please. Clapping, thank you.
Thank you.
That is a rare event. Taylor, you predicted that the Warriors would be playing the Knights next week and the Roosters would be playing the Storm in Melbourne. So you predicted the right people to go through. Tim, you thought that the Warriors would roll Penrith, but you got the other one right. And Rosie, you thought the Warriors would roll Penrith and you thought the Sharks would roll the Roosters, so you got two wrong. So Tim, you finished in second, and Rosie, you finished in first. So 1 point, 3 points to you, Taylor, 2 points to you, Tim Cheeseman, and 1 point to you, Taylor. Brendan, now.
What about Host Plus Cup?
Hang on. I'm a host. We'll go the Host Plus Cup later, son.
I just want my roses. I want my flowers.
Go on. What did you get? Did you get that right too?
2 from 2.
Oh,
Two
hello.
from 2.
Hello. Taylor, you've got the Warriors to beat the Knights and play the Broncos, and the Storm to beat the Roosters and play Penrith. Are you standing by that?
Yes.
Okay. Tim, you've got the Knights.
Storm and Roosters will be the game of the round. That'll be an absolute cracking match of football.
You've got the Knights to beat what would have been Penrith, Tim.
Yep.
So now that's replaced with the Warriors. Mm-hmm. I assume you would put the Warriors in over the Knights.
Yes.
So do you want to change your thing?
Yep. Warriors and Storm.
Yeah, you've got Warriors and Storm, yep. Okay. And Brendan, you've got the Warriors getting through and Melbourne getting through. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. James, this weekend, the Knights are away to the Warriors. Who's your winner there?
Maybe just the Warriors with home advantage. I noticed Sean Johnson's will be back this weekend, so that'll add to their.
And Melbourne are at home to the Roosters.
I think we just home advantage. Storm might just come through that. We'll just be motivated to put right the wrongs.
Okay, let's see where we are next week. You're a late entry, James, so unfortunately you can't win this tournament.
I reckon the Storm will put 30. They'll win by 30.
Right.
Okay.
All the outside backs of Roosters gone.
Let's review every team or every game from the weekend. I'll start with you, Taylor. Broncos and Storm. You were at the game?
Yeah, I was. And can I say, it was... I got tickets and went because Max, my eldest son, has cousins that all go for the Broncos and other cousins that go for the Storm. So it was really good to go as a group. And it was an experience thing to see Suncorp like it was for my son. The crowd was fantastic behind the Broncos. It was just so loud in there. We were up the top, which was good because we didn't get rained on, but they were so loud. I thought the Broncos were really strong in defence. And if they attacked I think their attack was at maybe 60%. I think they've still got levels to go in their attack. They looked really, really crisp on Friday night. The Storm were not anywhere near up to scratch where we thought they were. And they've got a big week with a lot of injuries to try and turn that around this week and beat the Roosters.
What I'm going to do is ask the other boys about the other games and then get your opinion as the second opinion for that game, Taylor. So, yep. Tim, the Knights and Raiders, said by many to be one of the best finals games in a long time.
Yeah, it was very, very entertaining. The first half, I thought Canberra were just going to walk all over them, the way that they came out and attacked.
But do you remember a penalty just before Knights went bang, bang with tries? It was an alleged strip and it got referred captain's challenge. I don't think it was a strip. It was a negligible touch. Does any of you remember that? And Canberra got penalised.
Yes. It was Tom Starling.
That was a turning point.
It was Tom Starling with his hand under the ball.
Yeah.
And they ruled that he went in and raked out. Yeah. But in reality, when you're in a group making a tackle, you have to put your hand somewhere. If you go like that, sorry, I was trying to explain it. You could break your arm if it gets in between the shoulders.
You're not allowed to touch the ball, are you, in theory? But I think it just sometimes happens.
Slow-mo makes it worse.
Exactly. I didn't like that at all. Do you remember that, Brendan? I
was happy with the call, and I was going for Canberra.
And you're a referee, so
yeah, you just don't.
Greg McCallum.
If you're going to do it, you're gonna play around with it. But mind you, if they said it was a loose carry, I would have been happy. I think it was a 50-50 call.
Yeah.
James, did you watch any semi-finals this weekend from Australia?
I've watched the highlights of all the games this morning, Lee.
So pick one of the other games. So we had Penrith and Warriors, and we had Roosters and Sharks. Pick one of those.
Yeah. I'd say the Roosters, and an observation that I made with a field goal, because you've talked about Tedesco before, where he puts himself everywhere. Who made the last hit up, the last play before that field goal? He was in there at the thick of the action, got a quick play of the ball, and aided the crucial moment.
So, Taylor, your memories of the game?
Of the Roosters game, I thought that the Roosters deserved to win it. I thought they definitely did enough, and they looked the better side. It was just a very, very tight, contested contest, and there was plenty in it. I just think the Roosters were definitely better at the time.
I'll have a long memory of that game. You know why?
Why?
I was that drunk because I'd been drinking with my mates all afternoon. I fell asleep on the sofa and woke up at 2 a.m. about 5 minutes into the game. So that's about as much as I saw of it. And then the last game that we need to have a little mention of then, Brendan, is the Penrith and the Warriors. And some people are saying it was Nathan Cleary's best ever club game.
Oh, he had a good game. I would say it was his best game. Like the amount of ball they had in that first half, I think it was something like 35 to 65%. He had a good game, and he was moving around. And I think not having Luai there, he sort of added a couple of dimensions. But there wasn't the Warriors gave him a lot of ball, especially in that first half, and they were always going to be running backwards from there. And I got a question, and probably Taylor's probably the best one to ask on here is, how many points do you reckon you put on a really parochial home crowd?
Depends. I think the way that Newcastle was, I think the Newcastle fans lifted that night side, and you could hear it. Yeah, it was very impressive, and that was probably my. I didn't get to see the Penrith Warriors game because I was working myself, commentating. But in all 3 games I saw this weekend, the crowds made a massive difference. I think that the Cronulla game, the difference was that it wasn't as packed. There wasn't as many. Like Newcastle was absolute jam packed, and they were singing to the hills. They were great. The Broncos won the exact same. You had 58,000 Broncos fans just cheering them on in the rain. And Cronulla, although it was packed, it wasn't. Cronulla needed a bit more that night, and I just found that the sides that had the crowd, it made a difference.
I can't wait to see what happens Friday night at the Warriors game.
Yeah.
They're pre-drinking now in Auckland.
Saturday, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because Melbourne's on Friday night.
Okay.
Good job, people are coming to us for the news.
It's at like 3 o'clock or something, isn't it? It's like a 7 o'clock kick-off over there. So what's that? 5?
You know, there's something called Google, Brendan, that will tell you the result. You found it the other week when we were doing that musical challenge. Okay, so that's this week's semis. I'm just going to jump to Super League for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to play a little game, boys.
Yeah.
James, tell us what's going on in Super League.
Right. It's fairly, if you look at the table, you could throw a net over.
Can't see it.
No, but I was having a bit of a glance at the points.
I can see a table in my room.
Yeah. Well, you could, a few drinks on it probably the other night, Lee, by the sounds of it.
In Australia, they call it the ladder, mate.
The ladder, yeah, right. Well, yeah, it is the ladder, isn't it?
Have a look at the ladder.
I'm calling loose forwards lock forwards now, so I'm getting into the...
have a look at the ladder.
Yeah. You could... Wigan have actually... They were struggling a few weeks ago. They're top now.
Okay.
They had an absolute blowout to beat Leeds 50-0 at Headingley.
Is Rowan Smith under any pressure there?
I'm starting to wonder, really. I think last year... I think maybe there wasn't the pressure because he'd come in and there weren't the expectations and he got into the grand final. But I think possibly. So I don't think that the Blake Austin situation has helped.
No.
With that because he went, they've lost one of the major players there, but possibly he is because you don't expect blowout scores like that in those sort of matches.
No.
So Catalan seem to have they beat Wakefield 18-10 at the weekend. They just seem to have gone off the boil a little bit.
Wakefield basically screwed now?
Well, yeah, there was a crucial game a couple of weeks ago where they played Castleford, and I watched it, and Castleford beat them reasonably convincingly at Wakefield's ground. Really. That was a big game. Then you've got Hull KR seem to be holding up fairly well. They're 5th. But there's the two teams that seem to struggle with the cult, and they always struggle with the culture, it seems to be, Warrington and Hull FC. Because Warrington have, of course, got rid of Darryl Powell this season. They're halfway up, but they had a really good start to the season, but then fell way off the beam, really. And then Hull FC under Tony Smith, who I rate Tony Smith, they're 10th in the league. But I think it's maybe just the culture of these clubs. But the Hull FC squad isn't as strong as it has been in past years.
I truly do believe, and Taylor, you might agree with me or not, this year is a little bit of an anomaly because of the effect of the World Cup and how deep the World Cup went into November and the mandatory stand-down times. And, of course, in England, they get next to no pre-season time or next to no break, and then they have to be back in pre-season. Yeah. As a footballer, that is going to affect how you carry yourself through the year, isn't it? Whether you pick up knocks and whatnot. And is that an explanation, do you think, of why we had some teams are going up and down? How, the Knights have come from nowhere, the Roosters have fallen to bits, and so on and so forth?
It would explain certainly some mental fatigue.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you still have your Melbournes and your Penriths still up the top. The Roosters have certainly struggled this year, although they are starting to find a little bit of form, you could say now. Definitely it has something to do with it. But the thing, interestingly enough, Lee, is that the same things applied in the Host Plus Cup. which wouldn't have had nearly as many representatives at the World Cup. So,
but there'd be more than you think because they play for the nations that didn't get as much airtime.
No, well, even just as I think about it, like I'm having a good think about it. Even traditionally, your Samoans and your Tongans, that they do have the couple of players, but this World Cup, maybe some Cook Islander players. They're honestly, I reckon there was probably maybe 20 compared to the NRL that would have had hundreds in the World Cup. So I don't think it's had the effect on Host Plus Cup, the World Cup, which means that's been an up and down season as well. It's been very hard to tip. Anyone can beat anyone on their day.
Stop giving excuses for your crap tipping, mate.
Yeah, well, it wasn't, Lee. And that's the thing. You've just interrupted me again. It's becoming a bad habit. Maybe
again, first time this week, Sunshine.
You need to start assessing your processes and systems around hosting podcasts. But look, I'm really looking forward to next year, to round 10, 15, where we can say, like, was 2023 an anomaly across all grades? Or is this something that can be expected? I mean, we've also had the inclusion of a 17th team. Like, you know, there's certainly going to be an impact from that. And that would affect both comps as well. So, yeah, look, I'm interested to see how it goes next year, but I don't think the World Cup is solely to blame for that.
We are going to play a game, and Tim, because you've been quiet and a good little boy sat in the corner there, we're going to start with you. Okay, there are 6 teams left in the National Rugby League competition 2023. We're going to rank them 1 to 6. But you're going to start with your worst. Which is the worst team left, Tim?
Roosters.
5th best or 2nd worst?
Knights.
4th? It's hard to do backwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, who's the best? Who's the best team left?
I think Brisbane are.
So do you think they'll win the comp then?
I do. I reckon it'll be a really good game between Brisbane and Panthers.
You said Warriors last week.
Yeah, I know, but before that, Sean Johnson was playing.
He's playing this weekend, I think.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So 2nd best team, Penrith.
Yes.
3rd best team?
Melbourne.
So you think the Warriors are the 4th best team?
Yep.
James?
6 Roosters. I agree with Tim on that.
Yep.
Knights 5th. Now, it's an interesting one, is this, with the Storm and the Warriors. Be 3rd or 4th. The Warriors have had an excellent season. Under the, is it, what's their coach called, the Warriors? Webster. He's done a really good job, hasn't he, there? I might say Storm 4th, actually, just on the season's performance. Warriors 3rd. I think it's really interesting with Brisbane and Penrith because I think Brisbane have got a magnificent pack with Flegler, Haas and Carrigan, amongst others. I think they really do cause problems. But the Penrith system has been going on for years, so maybe... I don't think there's anything between those two, really. I'll probably just go for, because of the record that they've had, Brisbane 2nd, but Penrith 1st, but only just. I don't think there's a lot in it with those two. But I've not watched it week to week, so like you guys might have done. So,
Rosie?
Based on the players playing this weekend?
No, who's the 6th best team and who's the 1st best? Yeah.
I think the Knights are the 6th best team, and that would be if Manu and all them were fit for this weekend.
Oh. So 5th?
5th, Roosters. The Warriors. 4th, Storm. 3rd. And I'm with James in regards to the Broncos and the Panthers. You can't split them, to be fair. I'll go Brisbane because parochial and to annoy people. So,
TB?
Bryce, he brings up a really good point. In what way are we rating them?
The best to the worst.
Yeah, but that's such a variety of. That's such a
Are we
wide
basing
range.
on this 17 that playing this weekend?
Yeah,
Well-
if you want to do that, yeah.
Well, if it was this 17, it's Roosters then Knights.
That's right. Yeah. And
So who's in sixth, Taylor?
well, then I'd probably think about having. I really like the Knights' cohesion as a side. I'd probably have Melbourne a little bit further down with a few injuries like Pappenhausen and Coates out. So I'd go Roosters, Melbourne, Knights. Then I'd go Warriors, Panthers, and then Brisbane.
Okay. So basically, the four of you are split on whether Penrith or Brisbane are the best team, and that bodes well for a good grand final, I think, boys. Assuming they all go through. It wouldn't surprise me if the Broncos go out in the semi-final. It would not.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. It wouldn't surprise me if the Warriors get through. It wouldn't surprise me if honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if the Knights got through the way they just lifted as a team on the weekend.
And I think the Storm or the Roosters, whoever wins, are going to have nothing left by the time they get to Penrith.
Yeah, so wouldn't surprise me if the
It'll also depend on whether Luai is playing, because coming from someone who's dislocated their shoulder many, many times, it'll take the slightest knock, even strapped to the hilt, and it'll pop again, and he'll be gone. And either it does not matter what forward pack, they will target that and they will hit him.
I just think they can function without him.
Yeah, so do I.
And I think they can win the competition without him.
They can win the comp, but you get a decent defensive line and you do what Queensland and New South Wales and you shut down Cleary. I know it's easier said than done. It's the same with Knights. There's no plan B with those two teams. Don't get me wrong. Plan A is nearly unstoppable, but yeah.
I don't think Luai is a crucial piece to the puzzle like Cronk was for the Roosters in 19.
No, definitely not.
No. When Cronk was at the Roosters and he'd done his scapula, he shattered his scap, it was like they needed him on the park. We don't care if you defend at all. We don't care anything. We need you on the park to steer us around. Luai is certainly not anywhere near that for the Penrith Panthers. And I agree with Lee. I think, can Panthers win the comp without Luai? Yes. Would he be a liability in defence if he came back? Probably. Don't bring him back.
Yeah. Who played at 6 at the weekend?
Cogger.
Yeah, he did well.
He did. And he's going back to Newcastle next year. He's proven a really good signing. I wouldn't displace Tyson Gamble the way he's playing football. I love his passion. I've played with Tyson at Redcliffe and I've watched him at the Tigers and all that. And I've always thought his style of play reminded me of Josh Reynolds. And when he gets really passionate about something, Tyson, you can tell when it fires him up. And the way he played on the weekend was really good. He lifts the side and I wouldn't be taking him out of any team football side at the moment.
Could you play him at 13?
You could, but he's wasted. He's a better 6.
Picture this.
I'll be honest. Sorry. I reckon Cogger's better than their 7. Newcastle was a better team with the 7 off the field.
Hastings.
Yeah.
I think a great effort that Tyson Gamble... Sorry, Lee.
You go, James.
I think a great effort that Tyson Gamble made at the weekend. I noticed he was chasing down the field goals, putting pressure on, charging them down.
Yeah,
their effort plays. He really, really did well with that. But just going to the Panthers, a little note I made about them. Mitch Kenny, is it the hooker?
Yeah.
Yeah. The third try that they got, it went one way and then went the other. And as Andrew Johns commented, the fullback went the way that he originally went.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a very clever play. Yeah. So it's interesting. Just an observation.
Thank you.
I can imagine James watching it happen and going, "Oh, I'll make a note about that." And then
you know what?
You're right. You see on a piece of paper.
Hold me cover. I've got to make a note about that.
Yeah. You sussed me out, Taylor.
The bit of skill that stood out to me was Adam Reynolds doing that crossfield kick with his left foot.
I didn't catch that
because they rushed him. They rushed his kicking foot, so he just switched it to his left and put in a dink in the corner that was pinpoint.
What about his
I know
that was great.
He's in some fine form. He's in some really good form, Adam.
So here's the question, and I'm going to go to left to right on my screen. You're a coach. Who would you rather have in your number 7 jersey to steer you home in a grand final? Adam Reynolds or Nathan Cleary? So, Brendan, I'm starting with you.
Cleary.
Why?
Because he's done it.
So was Adam Reynolds.
Yeah, but that South team was Sam Burgess put him on the shoulders and got him there. And Reynolds has gone a little missing in some big games. As I said, I'm splitting hairs. And
plenty of them on your face.
And I also think that Cleary's got a better running game.
James?
Again, sitting on the fence a little bit. Cleary for the running game, taking him on. But as you said, the Adam Reynolds being able to kick with both feet. How many halfbacks can do that effectively?
Tim?
I'm going Adam Reynolds because he's got more experience in the halves. There's very, very little between them, but I'd have to go Reynolds because halves don't really start coming into their best sort of football until they're in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s.
Taylor Brown?
Nathan Cleary. I think Rosie's right. I think Adam Reynolds probably, Nathan Cleary's, say if you're rating them out of 100, Nathan Cleary's got a kicking game of 97, Reynolds has a 99 kicking game. Footballing IQ, I'd say they're pretty similar, but you look at all the other physical attributes, speed, defense, all those sorts of things. I think you pick Nathan over Adam Reynolds in all those. And as much as, his wisdom, again, it's very close, but it's Nathan Cleary. Like it's Nathan Cleary. He's an origin. He's the reason why he's the Origin 7. There's the reason why he's the Australian 7. It's Adam Reynolds is in both of those categories as well. It's still Nathan Cleary.
The only thing I would say that could be the difference is Nathan's Cleary to be able to be Nathan Cleary on the back foot. I don't think I've ever seen him do it. And I think that if any pack in the comp can match Penrith, it's Brisbane.
Yeah, agree.
What about the fullbacks, Taylor? Dylan Edwards or Reece Walsh?
Oh, this is actually Reece Walsh.
Yeah. Tim?
I think he's the key to Brisbane's attack this year. His speed is something else. The way he can change pace on a dime is incredible.
Can we add a third? Put Ponga in there?
No, because he's not going to get to the grand final.
Oh, okay.
Tim?
I'm going to have to go Walsh, but this one here is another really, really tight one because Edwards, there's nothing he can't do. And he's got the strength to be able to take a lot of those big hits where Walsh doesn't have that frame yet because of his age.
Can Dylan Edwards go down a chimney and deliver presents? Tim?
No.
Well, you just said there's nothing he couldn't do, so don't tell lies on this podcast. James?
If he started doing that, it'd put you out of the job.
Thanks for letting me know I'm slim enough to get down. Thank you. James?
Good answer, Lee, that one. I think Walsh just seemed to rip Melbourne to bits on their left edge, but maybe the consistency of Edwards. I'll maybe just go for Walsh on this one.
Now, Brendan, I don't know if you want to bring in Brett Mullins or, any other fullbacks, Billy Slater maybe, but, for right now, we're just going Edwards and old mate from Brisbane. Which one would you pick?
I go Walsh every day of the week. The difference between Walsh and Edwards, he can do those hard yards, but I think Edwards needs someone to create something other than just effort, where Walsh can create. If you got 10 minutes to go and you need 6 points, I know who you want in your team.
Taylor, Host Plus Cup comes to its crescendo Sunday at 5:30, I believe.
It does, yes, at KO Stadium in Redcliffe.
Yes, where everything in rugby league happens these days. They'll be playing Origin there soon. Everything else happens there.
There's 2 places that's the home of rugby league. One is Bill Delaunay Reserve in Revesby. It is the absolute centre of rugby league.
No. St Mary's in Penrith. Everything happens there.
And you've
even the lines go disappearing.
You've never had a schooner Better than a schooner in River Road Hotel. That's a fact.
Okay.
And the next place is Redcliffe. And it'll be a really cracking game. Unfortunately, I won't be calling the Host Plus Cup match because Fox Sports have decided to take over the Host Plus Cup match this weekend.
Yeah.
And Wally's calling. He had a better game.
No. Wally's been sacked. He's gone. Back to the back of the line. I'm going to be doing...
I mean, there'll be a statue of you outside Suncorp now if you're better than Wally.
that or Redcliffe, yeah, either or.
Yeah.
Or maybe...
Need a lot of bronze, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so I'm actually sideline commentator for the Colts grand final, which would be good, and I'll get to interview the captains after the game. It'll be really, really good down there at KO Stadium. I'm looking forward to it. As you can see, I need a haircut. I'll probably wait till the day before to make sure it's fresh for my TV gig.
I was just thinking that, James. Like, geez, doesn't Taylor need an haircut? Weren't you thinking that, Rosie? If you had hair like that, you'd look like a choir boy, Rosie. Look at the state of yours. It's about 28 inches long.
I'm hoping to get to the game too.
I am.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. I've got to come up for work. So I'm going to go see mum and dad, and then probably my brother as well. He's out that way. So hopefully get out to the game at 5:30, is it?
And
what's the Colts game?
Colts game is the Brisbane Tigers up against the Townsville Blackhawks.
Who's going to win the final, Taylor?
I think Brisbane Tigers do in the Colts.
No, the main one.
It's going to be very close. Townsville are good though. It'll be tight as, but I like Brisbane Tigers. And in the main one, mate, you're splitting hairs there. The Bears, if they play like they have the last two matches, will be extremely hard to beat. Extremely hard to beat. So,
who were they feeded to?
Gold Coast Titans.
No.
But the one thing the Bears have is they have a really good mix of experienced Host Plus Cup players. Sammy Salima, Sam Costa, Hayden Schwass, Pat Politoni, all these guys that have played for Burleigh for years. Sammy Salima was there in 2016 when they won the grand final. He was there in 2019 when they won the grand final. He was in a couple of other grand final appearances.
The seven likes the niggle. Typical redhead.
Guy Hamilton.
Yeah.
Mate, I think he'll win halfback of the year this year. He's been instrumental for the Bears. He does like to niggle, but he's when you're doing things like that he's doing on the field at the moment, I guess you sort of get a bit of a license.
Who's going to win player of the year?
That's a pretty interesting question. I'm unsure because sometimes that can come from obscure sides. I mean, really obscure sides. A couple of years ago, actually, Ruben Cotter won it from Mackay, and Mackay came nearly last.
And Nat Neal did the same?
Nat Neal won it from Ipswich when they came last. So it's very hard to pick who's going to be the player of the year. I think that's a tough pick, and I'm unsure. I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Fuller won player of the year. Actually, he's been a standout in the Host Plus Cup all year. So Trey Fuller from Redcliffe's probably not a bad option. He had something like 140 tackle breaks. One game he had 18 tackle breaks, and he lapped the comp by 60. So, yeah, he'll be very close.
Okay, it's now time to talk about everything apart from rugby league. Anybody watched any Rugby World Cup?
Yeah, I have.
Discuss.
Oh, it was actually really good to watch. I watched the Fiji-Wales game, and Fiji were giving it to them, and then Wales were just probably a little bit professional, but the crowds were quite impressive.
What do you think of the referee?
For a while.
I sit and scratch my head, to be honest. It was funny. I think at one stage Fiji were attacking the line and Wales were giving away penalty after penalty, and he just had a bit of a chat to them. And then they literally go down the other end. And then the next thing you know, one of the Fiji blokes is gone and game's over. So, yeah. But, mind you, he was pretty – there was a high shot and he could have quite easily binned him. But he said, he said he was falling, and a little bit of common sense come into it. The referee contributed to it, not just, we're going to go to the video and the video will give it to them, where the referees he contributed to it to the discussion, which I think he gets a better feel of the game and what's happened. And I thought that was good.
So, boys, at the start of the pod, I happened to mention that I fell asleep watching the football the other day. My mate had left 5 minutes earlier, and I thought, I'll stay up and watch Sharks and Roosters. And next thing, it was 2:30 in the morning. On my screen, going left to right, I want to know the strangest or the funniest place you've ever fallen asleep when under the influence. I can promise you that one I just gave you isn't the funniest or the strangest or whatever. Brendan.
Portaloo.
Where?
It was it was like a festival, yeah.
There's nothing worse than doing a Richard III in a Portaloo, is there?
Yeah, and I passed out.
Especially at a festival, I mean, that would have been pounded.
I agree. I don't know. They had to break in to get me out. But
how long were you in there for?
I got no idea. One of my mates said he was going to try and push it over and then get me out.
Are we talking hours or?
Oh, probably about half hour.
And was it in the heat of the day as well?
No, it was at night, but it was still quite warm.
James?
He's actually kind of taken my story a little bit because I've fallen asleep in the gents in one or two bars in my time when I've been under the influence.
Oh, a bit of a theme here. You boys in toilets and just dozing off, aren't they? Hoping somebody comes and gets you, eh? Tim?
Happened once or twice.
On a road, middle of the road.
Middle of the road.
Yep. I was walking and I just went bang. I couldn't even put my hands out to stop myself. I woke up and all the backs of my hands were all charred up, and there was a road down in Melbourne. And
nice and
it was one of those
yeah.
old bitumen roads. And I had a great big hole in my ear.
How long were you down for?
I don't know. An hour or so?
Was there any traffic built up?
No,
Did
nothing.
not honk the horns or anything? Or
I don't know.
Taylor?
I was having a rest. I woke up and grabbed a stick and put the stick in through my ear. I could actually fit my little finger through the hole in my ear.
Oh.
All the side of my face, all scraped up.
Bondi Beach. Woke up on Bondi Beach once after a night out.
Okay.
I thought I recognised your face from Bondi Rescue.
Was everything still intact when you woke up?
Yep. Yeah, everything was fine.
Nothing was loose.
So, yeah, I woke up on Bondi Beach and made my way back to Revesby via train. That was a terrible one. That was about 2 hours of transport. And then another one was I was on my driveway at home. So I'd gotten all the way home and I'd gotten Hungry Jacks on the way home, and I obviously thought I'll eat it out here so I don't wake up the missus and the kids inside, or the one kid at that stage, and fell asleep, woke up, I still had the double whopper in my hand.
Important things, yeah.
Yeah, it was still good in the morning too. It was delicious.
My story is when I was a young tearaway, I was coming home from Blackpool and got on the train and ended up on the other side of the country. I'd fallen asleep. And the train that was going through my hometown I'd missed that stop and just slept all the way through. And next thing, I'm on the other side of the country.
Jesus.
Which you mean? It's not like going from, it's not like going from, Perth to Sydney or something. Like it's a lot smaller England, but still a decent, 4 or 5 hours. And again, I had a great sleep, and I remember waking up and there were some girls there who were just laughing at me, going, like, yeah.
You didn't think to help me out, ladies, or yeah?
Well, they probably didn't have a clue. They thought I was getting off at Pontefract or whatever it was, or I don't know, Hull or something. I don't know. I just know I was a long way from home. So, what a great way to end the podcast.
Yeah.
The only one missing tonight was Chris Bugden. Good to see you again, James.
Good to see you too.
Hang on, Lee. Can I just quickly ask, when did you tip Cronulla to win the comp?
At the start of the season.
Yeah. Do you remember what round?
I was hinting at it before the comp started after watching trials, and then I went in about round 4.
Okay. because they finished, what, 7th, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked Wynnum after the first trial, and they ended up 4th. So you give me a bit of lip about my tips, I would say that's some fair evidence to say I'm probably better
Who
than you.
did you tip in the NRL?
That's
Oh,
not here nor there.
Redcliffe.
Not here nor there. Not here nor there.
Did you? I don't know.
Not here nor there.
Who did you tip?
Cowboys.
You know, the last 2 years I've got a grand finalist, similar time of tipping. And I also think as well, I mean, I know the result in the newspaper Sunday morning's all that matters, but the Sharks only lost by a point, so you know they could have easily gone through to this next round this week, no problem. Yeah. And they'd have probably had a better chance of beating Storm than the Roosters actually because they were healthier. So
yeah, they would have.
You know, if those things would have happened, all of a sudden it wouldn't have looked a bad shout, you know.
But I'll quote Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious. It doesn't matter if it's an inch or a mile. At the end of the day, they lost.
Jack first or last.
Yeah, with that Cronulla game, they didn't really ice their moments.
No.
And I don't see them. I don't know what it is, but when it comes to finals,
they're still a young side.
Yeah,
they're still a young side. Apart from Wade Graham, who's now retiring, they're a young side.
Mm.
So there's a bit of the Broncos a couple of years ago about them, except they're not getting wooden spoons, you know. So,
yeah.
Is there a bit too much pressure on Nico Hines' shoulders, the Cronulla?
Well, he came out in the papers and on socials and that, and he's kicking himself over missing those field goals. Not take it back another 2 meters where they wouldn't have been able to get him, and he's really taking it hard. And yes, it is really, really hard for him, but he will grow and become a better player for it. And that's what I like about the Cronulla team is that there's a lot of young talent there that they're just not there just yet. And with this, the last 2 years, with them missing out on any further finals than what they have, they're going to be a team to be reckoned with very, very soon.
I think with that second attempt, I think Trindle should have stood up.
Yep.
Because they know it was going to Hines. And if Trindle's there, they're going to Hines. And Trindle, he's a 7. I know he wears 6 on his back, but he could have helped out Hines big time. And it's the same. And it was the same with the Raiders. They only had one kicking option, so they knew it was going to go to Fogarty.
Yeah.
And this is where the 6 or a fullback needs to step up.
Your pivots need to step up because you can put all the pressure on one player otherwise.
Yeah,
what's going to happen? So,
Lee,
Taylor,
should probably talk about next week.
What about it?
I'm going to be on holiday. I'm going to be in Fraser Island. I don't think I'll get reception to do a podcast.
I'll be off the coastline there.
Will ya?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have a week off then.
I think we'll have to have a week off.
Yeah, it's school holidays.
Yeah.
And then we've got the grand final edition.
Grand final edition after that.
Yeah.
We keep going anyway, Rosie. No holidays for us.
Aren't you working next week anyhow?
Yeah.
Like, seriously? Yeah.
Yeah, I always work. All right. See you later, boys.
See ya.
Cheers.
See ya.
Yeah.